All right, so get this. We're going deep on entropy today.
Ooh, sounds intense.
It is, kinda, but also super interesting, I promise.
Well, I'm all ears.
Okay, cool. So, you know how everyone's always talking about entropy, but, like, no one really gets it?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, physics buzzwords, you know?
Totally. So we're using this Wikipedia page on entropy to guide us. It might not be the most exciting read on its own,
I can imagine.
but we're going to find the good stuff, the nuggets of wisdom, and make sense of it all.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so first off, even super smart people found this concept tricky. This page even mentions that Willard Gibbs, you know, the physicist,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
he said that stuff about entropy can seem, like, far-fetched.
Huh. That's reassuring. Even Gibbs found it tough.
Right, so we're in good company if we're a little confused at first.
Totally.
So to, like, actually understand entropy, we got to start with the basics, right? The page mentions this guy, Rudolf Clausius, and he was studying the Carnot cycle, which is this model of a perfectly efficient engine, but what's that got to do with entropy?
Well, the Carnot cycle, it's theoretical, helps us understand the limits of, how efficient engines can be.
Okay.
And Clausius, he was looking at it and realized heat doesn't just flow randomly, like from cold to hot.
Interesting.
There's a direction to it, like a one-way street for how energy changes.
Okay.
And that observation led him to entropy.
So it's not just about, like, things getting messy over time.
No, not just that.
There's something deeper going on.
Yeah, there's a principle at work here.
Right. And the page talks about two ways to think about entropy: classical thermodynamics and then statistical mechanics.
Yeah. Two sides of the same coin.
Could you, like, break those down for us?
Sure. So from the classical view, entropy is all about the energy that's unusable.
Unusable.
Yeah, like energy that can't do useful work.
Okay.
Like think of a hot cup of coffee, lots of energy there, right?
Yeah.
But as it cools, the energy spreads out into the air.
Right.
Becomes less concentrated, less useful for doing stuff like powering an engine or whatever.
It's just the energy isn't gone. It's just, like, less organized.
Exactly. Good way to put it.
Like, it's still there, but less effective. Kind of like when my inbox is overflowing.
Perfect analogy.
All the information is there, but it's a mess.
Right. Now, statistical mechanics looks at it differently.
Okay.
It says entropy is about how many ways you can arrange a system's parts. It's microstates.
Microstates.
Yeah, the tiny arrangements.
Okay.
More possible arrangements, higher entropy.
Gotcha. So a messy room, clothes everywhere, that's higher entropy than a perfectly organized one.
Exactly. More ways to arrange a messy room.
But wait, isn't a crystal, like, super organized?
It is. But here's the catch. The type of order matters.
Oh.
A perfect crystal at absolute zero, the coldest temperature possible, it actually has zero entropy.
Really?
Yeah, it's a special case.
So entropy isn't just about disorder.
No, it's more nuanced than that.
It's about how energy is spread out, how many arrangements are possible.
You got it. That's the key takeaway here.
So the coffee example, the heat spreading out, that's higher entropy, less concentrated energy.
Precisely. And that spreading out, it's a big deal. Even relates to how we experience time.
Wait, really? Time? We got to talk about that more.
Definitely. But hold that thought for now. There's more to uncover.
Okay, you're killing me with the suspense. But
Well,
I guess we should let everyone digest this first, right?
sounds good.
Yeah, we've covered a lot already, from messy rooms to physics buzzwords.
It's a journey.
It is. All right, we'll be back with more on entropy soon, so stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
All right, we're back, and my brain is, like, buzzing with all these entropy ideas now.
It's one of those things you start seeing it everywhere.
I know, right? Like, even doing the dishes feels different now.
Okay.
So before we get to those, like, cosmic level questions about black holes and stuff.
The big stuff.
Yeah, the big stuff. I want to know, like, how does entropy actually work in practice?
Okay, good question.
The Wikipedia page mentions this thing, state function. What's that all about?
Yeah, so state function basically means the entropy of something depends only on its current state, not how it got there, just what it is right now.
So, like, it doesn't matter if my glass of water was boiled then cooled or frozen then melted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only the current state matters.
It's like if you climb a mountain or take a helicopter to the top.
Same altitude either way.
Yeah, the journey doesn't affect the end result.
That's a good way to think about it.
So that's a state function.
Yep. And it's super useful in thermodynamics.
Why's that?
Because we can calculate entropy changes without knowing all the messy details in between.
Oh, that's handy.
Just got to know the starting and ending points.
Gotcha. But how do we actually calculate these entropy changes?
Well, there are formulas,
Oh?
but don't worry, we don't need to get into the math too much.
Okay, good.
The important thing is understanding the principle. Like, imagine a gas expanding at a constant temperature.
Okay, picturing it.
What's happening at the molecular level is the gas molecules are spreading out.
Right? More space to move around.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that means more possible arrangements for those molecules.
And more arrangements means?
Higher entropy, remember.
Right. So if we understand how volume affects the number of arrangements, we can kind of predict how entropy changes.
You got it. It's all connected.
Makes sense.
And this applies to other processes too, like heating something up.
Okay, how so?
Well, you're adding energy, molecules move more freely, more possible arrangements again.
So more entropy.
Bingo.
It's all about how energy spreads out and affects these microstates.
Microstates, yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting it.
Okay, good. So calculating this stuff actually has real-world uses.
Absolutely. Designing engines, predicting chemical reactions, even understanding black holes.
Black holes. See, you keep teasing us with those.
We're getting there.
But before we go full-on cosmos, there's this other thing about entropy and, like, philosophy.
Okay, yeah, the philosophical angle.
Like the Wikipedia page mentions order, disorder, chaos, all that.
Right. It's more than just a physics concept.
So how does that fit in with what we've been talking about?
Remember, the key is energy dispersal.
Yeah, energy spreading out.
Right. When energy spreads out, it's less useful for work, and that's what entropy reflects.
So it's not just about things being messy in our everyday sense.
No, it's about the energy being less organized, less concentrated.
And that connects to, like, information theory, right?
You're thinking of Shannon entropy.
Yeah, that's the one. But I don't really get how it relates.
It's a cool connection. Shannon entropy is all about uncertainty, missing information.
Okay.
Imagine flipping a coin. You don't know if it'll be heads or tails. Lots of uncertainty.
High entropy.
Yep. But if you knew the coin was rigged to land on heads every time.
Then there's no uncertainty.
And no entropy. You have all the information.
So more information, less entropy.
Exactly. They're like two sides of the same coin.
Wow. So the same principles that govern energy also apply to information.
It seems that way. Different fields, but connected by these fundamental ideas.
That's incredible. And you know what else is connected to all this?
What's that?
Black holes.
Ah, yes.
We still need to talk about those and the fate of the universe.
The grand finale.
Exactly. Should we save that for the last part?
Let's do it. Build up the suspense.
All right, everyone, and get ready. Things are about to get cosmic. We'll be right back. All right, final part. Let's do this. Black holes, fate of the universe. Bring it on.
I'm ready. This is where it gets really mind-bending.
I know, right? Okay, so black holes first. These things are like the ultimate cosmic enigmas.
They really are regions of space-time where gravity's just, like, out of control.
Nothing escapes, not even light. It's crazy.
And that's what makes them so fascinating in terms of entropy.
Okay, why is that?
Well, black holes are thought to have the maximum entropy possible for their size.
Maximum entropy, so like the most disordered.
Not exactly disordered. Remember, it's more about information.
Right, all those microstates and stuff.
Yeah, so all the information and energy that fall into a black hole.
It all gets sucked in.
Yeah, and it contributes to the black hole's entropy.
Okay.
Which is then reflected in the area of its event horizon.
Hold on, event horizon, that's the point of no return, right?
Exactly. Once you cross that boundary, there's no coming back.
So the entropy of a black hole is tied to that boundary, not the stuff inside it.
It's weird, right? You'd think it'd be about the volume, all the stuff crammed in there.
I know. It's like the information gets encoded on the surface, not the inside.
That's one way to think about it. Yeah, it's a concept with huge implications.
For how information works in the universe, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's still a big mystery.
Makes my head spin. And speaking of the universe, what about its fate?
Ah, yes, the big question.
Earlier, we talked about heat death, everything reaching equilibrium, kind of a bummer ending.
Yeah, it can seem bleak, but it's just one possibility.
There are other theories.
Oh, definitely. Our understanding is always evolving.
Phew, that's a relief. What about that entropy gap idea? What's that all about?
Well, it suggests that the maximum possible entropy is increasing even faster than the universe's entropy.
Wait, so even though entropy is going up, the goalpost is moving further away?
Exactly. It's like we're running towards a finish line that keeps getting further away.
So maybe no heat death after all.
It's possible. The universe is full of surprises.
And things we don't understand yet, like dark energy, quantum mechanics.
Oh, yeah, those throw a wrench in things.
It's kind of exciting though, right? Always more to learn.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of science and our exploration of entropy today.
It started with engines, and now we're talking about the entire universe.
It shows how fundamental these ideas are, how they connect everything.
So even if we don't have all the answers, thinking about entropy gives us a new perspective.
Definitely. And it sparks curiosity, makes us ask bigger questions.
That's what this deep dive is all about. Right?
Exactly. And for anyone listening, if you're intrigued, keep exploring.
Yeah, there's so much more to learn about entropy. It's a rabbit hole for sure.
But a fascinating one.
Absolutely. So, until next time, stay curious, everyone. All right, strap yourselves in, everyone, because today we are diving deep into Christopher Nolan's Interstellar.
Oh, a classic.
It really is, and we are going to unpack this amazing Wikipedia article about this film, and we will pull out the most interesting parts. You know, think a dystopian future Earth is dying a mission through a wormhole near Saturn.
Yeah, and the search for a new home for humanity.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about Interstellar to me is that it's not just like Hollywood spectacle. It's like, you know, it blends that with real science.
Yeah.
So you're going to be seeing these like really incredible visuals, but they're actually grounded in theoretical physics.
Yeah, and that's all thanks to Kip Thorne.
Oh, yes.
Who was involved very heavily in this film's production. He was an executive producer and a scientific consultant, and he was really there to make sure that everything stayed true to the laws of physics.
Yeah, his influence is huge, and he even wrote a companion book, by the way, called The Science of Interstellar.
Oh, wow.
For those who really want to like delve into the scientific details. And trust me, it gets pretty mind-bending.
Oh, I bet.
That-
So let's set the stage here, Interstellar. It paints this picture of a dystopian future where Earth is dying, crops are failing, dust storms are raging.
Right.
Humanity is on the brink.
The film doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of a planet in crisis. Like, you really feel that weight
Yeah.
of this dying Earth pushing humanity to seek a new home among the stars.
And leading this mission is Cooper, played by Matthew McConaughey.
Of course.
He's a former pilot, he's a father, and he's a man chosen to carry the hopes of humanity on his shoulders.
I mean, what a role, right?
I know.
And he's joined by this incredible crew, including Amelia Brand,
Yes.
a brilliant scientist played by Anne Hathaway.
Yes. We also have Jessica Chastain playing Cooper's daughter, Murph.
Oh, right.
Who plays a really pivotal role in this film. And, of course, the legendary Michael Caine as Professor Brand.
You can't go wrong with Michael Caine.
Exactly.
Oh, and there's a major plot twist involving a character played by Matt Damon.
Oh.
I won't spoil it for you. But let's just say it adds a whole new level of tension to this mission.
Okay. Now let's talk about one of the most mind-bending concepts in Interstellar, and that is time dilation.
Right. This is where the film really delves into that, weird and wonderful world of relativity.
Yeah.
Because of the intense gravity near a black hole, the crew experiences time differently than people back on Earth.
Okay, so imagine this. You go on this mission, and for you, it feels like a few years.
Right.
But then when you return to Earth, decades have passed.
Wow.
Everyone you know has aged. The world has changed.
Yeah, talk about a rough re-entry.
I know, right?
That's exactly what happens to the crew of the Endurance, and it leads to some really heart-wrenching consequences.
Yeah.
It really makes you question the nature of time and how we perceive it.
It really does. But even with all the mind-blowing science, Interstellar doesn't forget about the human element.
It doesn't.
At its core, it's a story about love, connection, and the lengths we'll go to for those we care about.
Absolutely. The bond between Cooper and his daughter Murph is at the heart of the film.
Yes.
Even when separated by vast distances and time itself, their love for each other becomes a driving force.
Okay, so we've got a dying Earth, a desperate mission, a stellar cast,
Yes.
and some seriously mind-bending science ready to dive into the visual wonders of Interstellar.
This is where Nolan's filmmaking really shines.
Okay, let's talk about those jaw-dropping visuals.
Yeah.
In Interstellar, this is a film that truly pushes the boundaries
It does.
of what's possible on screen.
Nolan's vision for this film was so grand, and he wanted to create a visual experience that was both awe-inspiring
Yes.
and scientifically accurate.
And he absolutely nailed it.
He did.
Those sweeping shots of the wormhole, the swirling accretion disk around the black hole, Gargantua, the Tesseract sequence, they're all breathtaking.
I think what's amazing is that these visuals, they weren't just created for spectacle.
Right.
They were grounded in real scientific equations developed by Kip Thorne.
Thorne was literally crunching numbers. I know.
To ensure the accuracy of those visual effects.
Yeah.
And the result is something truly special. I mean, those effects were so groundbreaking that they actually contributed to the publication.
I know, it's crazy.
The 3 scientific papers.
It's mind-blowing to think that a Hollywood film could have such an impact on actual scientific research.
Oh, I know.
But that's the power of Interstellar.
Yes.
It blends science and art in a way that's just so unique.
And it's not just the special effects that are impressive. Nolan drew inspiration from some of cinema's greatest sci-fi films, like Metropolis, 2001, Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can definitely see those influences in the film's grand scale and its sense of wonder and mystery and its exploration of complex themes.
Yeah, one of those themes being the environmental crisis facing Earth.
Right.
Interstellar presents this pretty bleak picture of a planet ravaged by this global blight.
Yeah.
With dust storms, failing crops, and a dwindling atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder of the challenges that we face today.
Yeah, and the importance of finding sustainable solutions.
And while astrobiologist David Grinspoon questioned the accuracy of how the blight affected Earth's oxygen levels in the film, it certainly serves as a powerful reminder of our planet's fragility.
Absolutely.
Now let's shift our focus to the iconic spacecraft.
Okay.
In Interstellar, the Endurance.
Yeah.
It's a marvel of engineering and design.
The Endurance has this truly unique design with 12 modules arranged like a clock face.
I love that.
I know. And production designer Nathan Crowley, he explained that he drew inspiration from the International Space Station.
Oh, wow.
Aiming for a sense of realism and functionality.
And it's not just a pretty spaceship. The way the Endurance rotates to create artificial gravity, the docking procedures, the attention to detail in the ship's interior, it all feels so incredibly well thought out.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the robots.
Oh, yes.
TARS and Case?
Yes.
They're not your typical cutesy droids. They're more like walking, talking Swiss Army knives.
I love them. Their design is so unique with those blocky bodies and rotating segments.
Yeah.
And the way they move, all jerky and precise.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It's interesting how Nolan intentionally avoided making them too human-like.
Yeah.
He wanted to showcase a different kind of artificial intelligence.
And it works so well. TARS and Case have these distinct personalities, and they provide some much-needed comic relief amidst all this cosmic drama.
Bill Irwin, who voiced and physically controlled both robots, deserves a lot of credit for bringing these characters to life.
Yeah.
His performance, combined with those seamless visual effects, it's truly remarkable.
It really is. Okay, so we talked about the setting visuals, the science, the spacecraft, and the robots. But what really makes Interstellar so powerful is the way it blends all these elements with this deeply human story.
Right. At its core, Interstellar is a story about love and connection and the lengths we'll go to for those we care about.
Yeah.
The bond between Cooper and his daughter Murph is the emotional heart of this film.
Their relationship is tested to the absolute limit.
Oh, it is.
They're separated by vast distances, time itself, and the weight of humanity's fate. But their love for each other never wavers.
And that love ultimately becomes the key to saving humanity.
Yes.
It's a powerful message that resonates throughout the film.
Now, I know we've just scratched the surface of all the amazing things in Interstellar.
Yeah.
But there's one more element we have to discuss, and that's the music.
Ah, yes. Hans Zimmer's score for Interstellar is simply incredible.
It truly is.
It's a masterpiece that perfectly captures the grand scale of space travel, the emotional depth of the story, and the awe-inspiring beauty of the unknown.
I still get chills when I hear that iconic organ theme.
It's so haunting.
It's so evocative.
It is.
It really transports you to another world.
Did you know that Nolan gave Zimmer just a single page?
Oh, wow.
That told the story of a father leaving his child for work. And it was through that simple human connection that Zimmer began to craft the film's score.
That's amazing.
Amazing, right.
It's a testament to how Nolan approached this film. Even amidst all the science and space exploration, he never lost sight of the human element.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Interstellar so unforgettable.
Absolutely. It's a film that challenges our understanding of the universe while reminding us of the things that truly matter. Love, connection, and the enduring strength of the human spirit.
And speaking of mind-bending challenges,
okay,
are you ready to dive into the Tesseract scene?
I am. Fasten your seatbelts, folks.
This is where Interstellar takes its biggest leap into theoretical physics. And it's going to leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about time and space.
I'm ready.
All right, so we're talking about the Tesseract scene in Interstellar.
Okay.
This is where things get really wild.
They do.
Cooper has detached from the Endurance and is falling into a black hole.
Right.
But instead of being crushed into oblivion, he finds himself inside this bizarre four-dimensional space.
Right, and this isn't just any space. It's a tesseract, a representation of time as a physical dimension.
Whoa.
And what's even crazier is that this particular tesseract is connected to Murph's bedroom back on Earth.
So he can see into the past, like specific moments from Murph's childhood?
Exactly.
Wow.
He can see her at different ages, playing in her room, struggling with the mysterious gravitational anomalies, everything. And here's where the film takes a giant leap into the unknown.
Okay.
Cooper realizes that he can actually interact
What?
with these moments from the past.
Wait, so he can actually influence events that have already happened? Wouldn't that create all sorts of paradoxes?
That's the beauty of it. Interstellar embraces the mind-bending nature of time travel and paradoxes. It suggests that maybe our understanding of time is far too limited.
Okay, so how does Cooper use this newfound ability? I mean, he's trapped in a black hole, right?
These gets creative.
Okay.
Remember those books falling off Murph's shelf in the earlier part of the film?
Yeah.
And the strange dust patterns?
Yeah.
That was Cooper, using gravity to manipulate objects in the past, sending messages across time and space.
Whoa. So he's basically a cosmic ghost reaching through time to communicate with his daughter.
It's a powerful image, and it speaks to the profound connection between Cooper and Murph. And there's an even wilder theory at play here.
Okay.
The film suggests that a future, more advanced version of humanity might have created this tesseract for Cooper.
Wow.
Essentially orchestrating the events that led to their own salvation.
Okay, now my head is really spinning. But it all comes back to love, right? Cooper's love for his daughter is what drives him to make these seemingly impossible choices.
Precisely. Interstellar posits that love isn't just an emotion. It's a force that transcends time and space. It's the key to solving the equation that will save humanity, and it's what allows Murph to decipher the messages her father sends from beyond the black hole.
So Cooper manages to communicate with Murph through the Tesseract, giving her the information she needs to solve the equation. What happens to him?
The tesseract collapses,
Oh.
and Cooper is ejected back into our own solar system.
Okay.
He wakes up in a hospital bed on a massive space station orbiting Saturn.
So he survives a trip through a black hole. That's got to be a record. But after all that, he doesn't even get to go home.
Not right away. He learns that decades have passed on Earth.
Oh, wow.
Humanity is on the path to survival thanks to Murph's work. But she's nearing the end of her life.
Oh, wow. That's heartbreaking. So much time lost. But at least they get to reunite, right?
They do, and it's a truly touching scene.
Yeah.
Murph, knowing her time is short, encourages Cooper to continue exploring.
Oh.
Remember Amelia Brand?
Yeah.
She landed on that potentially habitable planet earlier in the film.
Right.
Murph urges her father to go find her and see what the future holds.
So even after everything he's been through, Cooper's journey isn't over. He sets off on another mission, searching for Amelia among the stars.
Exactly, and the film ends with him and Tars, his trusty robot companion, heading out into the unknown.
Huh.
It's a beautifully ambiguous ending that leaves you with a sense of both hope and wonder.
It's a reminder that exploration, both of the universe and of ourselves, is an ongoing journey. Interstellar is a film that asks big questions, challenges our perceptions, and ultimately leaves us with a sense of awe and possibility.
It's a film that sparks conversation, encourages us to think critically, and reminds us of the enduring power of the human spirit.
And on that note, we want to leave you with one final thought. If you could send a message back in time to your younger self, what would it be and why? Think about the choices you've made, the lessons you've learned, and the wisdom you've gained along the way.
It's a powerful question to consider. It makes you appreciate the journey, both the highs and the lows, that have shaped who you are today.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Interstellar. We hope you enjoyed the ride. Keep looking up the moat.
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
Today we're diving into Metamorphosis. And to help guide our journey, we'll be using the Wikipedia article on the topic.
Sounds good.
We're going to try to give you a solid understanding of this incredible biological process.
It's really fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
So to kick things off,
Okay.
what is metamorphosis It's more than just simple growth, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a biological process where an animal undergoes a dramatic and relatively abrupt change in its body structure.
It's like a biological makeover.
It really is.
A complete renovation.
Yeah.
At the cellular level.
Yeah, totally.
And this isn't just about caterpillars becoming butterflies.
Right.
We're talking about a whole range of animals.
Oh, definitely.
Aren't we?
Well, insects might be the most famous examples.
Right.
We see metamorphosis happening across the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
From fish to amphibians, jellyfish.
Wow.
And even some crustaceans.
It's amazing to think about all the different creatures that undergo such dramatic transformations.
It is.
So how does this all work?
Well,
What triggers these incredible changes?
hormones.
Hormones.
They're the key.
Okay.
They're like the puppet masters of metamorphosis.
Okay.
Orchestrating this intricate dance of development.
So it's not just teenagers who have their lives ruled by hormones.
Apparently not.
It seems not.
In insects,
Yeah.
two key players are ecdysone
Ecdysone.
and juvenile hormone.
Okay.
Ecdysone is the trigger for molting,
Okay.
that shedding of the exoskeleton.
Right.
But here's the fascinating part.
Okay.
Juvenile hormone determines what kind of molt happens.
Okay, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
So one hormone triggers molting,
Right.
and the other decides what happens during the molt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a hormonal switch.
Right.
If juvenile hormone is present,
Yeah.
the insect simply molts into a larger version of its larval self.
Okay.
But when juvenile hormone levels drop, that's the signal for a major transformation.
And this is where we get the incredible metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly.
Precisely.
Okay.
That's the classic example of complete metamorphosis,
Right.
where you have a distinct larval stage, a pupal stage,
Yeah.
and then finally the adult emerges.
Thinking about insects,
Yeah,
especially butterflies,
right.
it's easy to get caught up in the visual spectacle of metamorphosis.
It is.
But there are actually different types of metamorphosis, aren't there?
That's right.
Yeah.
We've been talking about complete metamorphosis.
Yeah.
But some insects go through what we call incomplete metamorphosis.
What's the difference?
Think of a grasshopper.
Okay.
They don't have a pumal stage.
Right.
Instead, the young, called nymphs, already resemble smaller versions of the adults.
Okay.
They go through a series of molts, each stage called an instar.
Instar.
Getting bigger and more developed with each one. You could think of it like leveling up in a video game. Gradually gaining new features and abilities.
So they skip the whole dramatic transformation inside a cocoon.
Exactly.
No complete shutdown and rebuild.
It's a more gradual process of development.
Okay.
But still fascinating in its own right.
Right.
Now, going back to complete metamorphosis, I think one of the most mind-blowing things is that some insects can actually retain memories from their larval stage.
You mean a butterfly could remember something it learned as a caterpillar?
There's evidence for it.
Wow.
One study showed that adult moths could remember aversions to certain smells they learned as caterpillars.
That's incredible.
It really is.
It challenges our assumptions about insect consciousness.
It does.
And how much of their identity is carried through these dramatic transformations.
It really does.
It's like they're carrying a piece of their past selves into their new life.
It is.
Nature is full of these mind-blowing connections. What other examples are there of insects carrying something through metamorphosis?
We'll take the ornate moth caterpillar.
Okay.
It actually carries toxins. It acquires from its diet through metamorphosis and into adulthood, using them for protection.
So those toxins stick around through that whole incredible transformation.
They do.
That's amazing. Okay, I think we've spent a good amount of time with insects.
Sure.
What about other animals that go through metamorphosis?
Well, fish offer some pretty remarkable examples, too.
Fish?
You might be surprised to learn that some fish undergo quite dramatic transformations.
Really?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that.
It's true. Tell me more.
Take flatfish, for instance.
Okay.
They start out life bilaterally symmetrical, like most fish, with an eye on each side.
Yeah.
But during metamorphosis, one eye actually migrates to join the other on what becomes the upper side of their body. So they go from looking normal to having both eyes on one side of their head.
Exactly.
Why would they do that?
Well,
it seems like it would make them more vulnerable.
It all comes down to their lifestyle.
Okay.
Flatfish live on the seafloor.
Right.
And having both eyes on one side allows them to lie flat and camouflage themselves while still keeping an eye out for predators and prey.
That's pretty clever.
It is. Yeah. It's an incredible adaptation.
That's a brilliant example of how form follows function in nature.
I agree.
Any other fish that pull off these kinds of transformations?
The European eel has a particularly complex life cycle.
Oh.
They go through several transformations.
Oh, wow.
As they migrate between freshwater and saltwater environments.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like they're living several different lives in one.
They are.
So these transformations aren't just about how the fish look.
Right.
They actually impact their whole way of life.
They do.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These changes involve adaptations in diet, behavior, and even the fish's internal organs.
Wow.
Metamorphosis is a complete lifestyle shift for many of these creatures.
This is all so fascinating.
It is.
I'm ready to dive into more examples.
Okay.
What about amphibians?
Oh, amphibians.
I know they're famous for their metamorphosis.
They are.
But I'm sure there's more to the story than just tadpoles turning into frogs.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Amphibians, with their dramatic transformations from aquatic larvae to terrestrial adults, are definitely the rock stars of metamorphosis.
Right up there with insects.
Definitely.
Okay, let's take the classic example.
Oh, okay.
The tadpole transforming into a frog.
Sure.
What's happening beneath the surface during that process?
It's an amazing interplay of hormones and cellular changes.
Okay.
Amphibian metamorphosis is mainly driven by two hormones.
Okay.
Thyroxin, which stimulates the transformation.
Okay.
And prolactin, which counteracts its effects.
Interesting.
It's a delicate balance that orchestrates the entire process.
So they have their own hormonal puppet masters, too.
They do.
Just like insects.
Precisely.
And the changes these hormones bring about are truly remarkable.
They are.
Tadpoles start with gills for breathing underwater.
Right.
But during metamorphosis, they develop lungs, limbs sprout, their tail is reabsorbed, and even their digestive system remodels to shift from a vegetarian diet to one focused on insects and other small animals.
It's incredible.
So it's like they're trading their swimming gear for hunting gear.
That's a great way to put it.
They're undergoing a complete overhaul to equip them for a whole new way of life on land.
They are.
Their eyes and brain also undergo significant changes to adapt to a terrestrial existence.
Right.
It's incredible to think about how their bodies are essentially going through a major system upgrade during this transformation.
It really is.
And here's something else that's fascinating.
Okay.
Recent research suggests that tadpoles don't even develop a balanced internal feedback system.
Wow.
For things like blood sugar control.
Okay.
Until they begin metamorphosis.
That's fascinating.
I'm sensing there's even more to amphibian metamorphosis than we've covered so far.
Oh, absolutely.
For instance, did you know that even within amphibians, there's a huge diversity of metamorphic strategies?
There is.
You mean different kinds of metamorphosis within the same group of animals?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some salamanders undergo complete transformation.
Yeah.
It's like frogs.
Right.
But others, like the axolotl, retain their larval characteristics even as adults.
So they basically skip the grow-up part of metamorphosis.
You could say that.
Wow.
It's called pitomorphosis.
Pitomorphosis.
And there are even salamander species where individuals can choose between those two paths.
Really?
Depending on environmental conditions.
So, like, if it's really dry, they'll stay in their larval form.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's like they have an evolutionary choose-your-own-adventure option.
That's incredible.
It is.
So much for metamorphosis being a one-size-fits-all process.
Nature loves to keep us guessing.
It does.
And speaking of surprises, newts have their own unique take on metamorphosis.
What do?
They go through a back-and-forth process. Shifting between an aquatic phase in spring and summer and a land phase in winter.
Wait, so they switch back and forth between water and land?
They do.
Do they, like, reverse their metamorphosis?
Not a full reversal.
Okay.
But their bodies do change to adapt to each environment.
Right.
Hormones are, of course, the key players here.
Of course.
Prolactin helps them adapt to water, while thyroxin is the hormone for land life.
So they're switching their hormonal gears depending on the season.
Exactly.
That's wild. What about their gills? Do they grow back every time they return to the water?
Here's the fascinating part. Those external gills don't return after the initial transformation to land.
Yeah.
They get fully absorbed when the newt first leaves the water.
Otherwise, they'd be walking around with these feathery gills all winter.
Exactly.
So what do they use to breathe underwater when they go back?
They rely on their skin.
Their skin.
For respiration.
Wow.
During their aquatic phase.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable example of their adaptability.
Nature never ceases to amaze.
It really doesn't.
We've covered insects, fish, and amphibians.
We have.
Are there any other animal groups that go through these kinds of transformations?
We've hit the highlights.
Okay.
But just to give you a taste, some mollusks.
Mollusks?
Like oysters and clams have larval stages that are free-swimming before settling down and transforming into their adult forms.
So even creatures that we think of as being pretty stationary go through some pretty wild changes early in life.
Yeah, exactly.
And some crustaceans, like crabs and lobsters, also have larval stages that look drastically different from their adult forms.
It's true.
It's a good reminder that metamorphosis is a widespread phenomena.
It is.
Woven into the very fabric of life on Earth.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
It really is a testament to the diversity of life.
It is.
And how evolution has shaped these incredible strategies for survival.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface, though.
Sure.
Are there any exceptions to this whole metamorphosis thing?
Of course. Evolution is all about flexibility.
Right.
Even within groups of animals that we typically associate with metamorphosis, there are always exceptions that prove the rule.
Right, like those salamanders that can choose to stay in their larval form.
Exactly.
What other examples are there?
Take caecilians, for instance.
Cilius?
They're a group of amphibians that look kind of like legless salamanders or earthworms.
Okay.
They mostly live underground.
Okay, I'm picturing them subterranean and serpentine.
Yeah.
Do they even have a larval stage if they live underground?
It depends on the species.
Okay.
The more primitive caecilians have an aquatic larval stage, complete with external gills.
Okay.
Just like frogs and salamanders.
Right.
They undergo a metamorphosis to become land-dwelling adults.
So they follow the typical amphibian pattern.
Yeah.
Start in water, transform, move to land.
Right. But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The more recently evolved caecilians have ditched the whole aquatic phase.
Really?
They hatch from their eggs, looking like miniature versions of the adults, already adapted for life underground.
So they've basically bypassed metamorphosis altogether.
They have.
Just straight to burrowing.
Pretty much.
That's fascinating.
It is.
It really highlights how evolution is a constant process of adaptation. What works in one environment might not work in another.
Right.
And these caecilians have found a strategy that suits their subterranean lifestyle.
Exactly.
It's like nature is running these evolutionary experiments.
It is.
Constantly tweaking and refining its creations.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Can we recap some of the key takeaways about metamorphosis for our listener?
Absolutely.
Okay.
First and foremost, metamorphosis is all about dramatic change.
Right.
It's not just simple growth. It's a complete transformation of body structure.
Right.
And often involves changes in behavior, diet, and even habitat.
And as we've seen, it's all orchestrated by hormones.
It is.
Those tiny chemical messengers that play such a big role in shaping an organism's development.
They're powerful little chemicals.
They are.
Yeah.
We talked about ecdysone and juvenile hormone in insects, and thyroxine and prolactin in amphibians.
Right.
All acting as master switches.
Yeah.
Triggering these incredible transformations.
Exactly.
And we've learned that metamorphosis takes many forms.
It does.
From the complete rebuild of complete metamorphosis with its distinct larval and pupal stages to the more gradual transitions of incomplete metamorphosis.
Right.
But regardless of the type, metamorphosis is a remarkable adaptation.
It is.
That allows animals to exploit different resources and environments throughout their life cycle.
Exactly.
It's all about maximizing their chances of survival.
Right.
And passing on their genes to the next generation.
That's the name of the game.
It is.
Yeah.
Thinking about all these incredible adaptations.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder.
What's that?
Could understanding metamorphosis help us solve problems in other areas, like medicine or engineering?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
Imagine if we could harness the principles of metamorphosis to regenerate tissues or develop self-healing materials.
Or what if we could create robots that could transform and adapt to different environments?
Right.
Just like some of these animals.
Like a self-driving car that could also fly.
The possibilities are mind-boggling.
They are.
Nature has already solved some incredibly complex problems.
It has.
By studying metamorphosis,
Yeah.
we might be able to unlock solutions that we
Right.
haven't even thought of yet.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that we can learn so much from the natural world.
Couldn't agree more.
And I think it's important to remember that even with all the scientific knowledge we've gained,
Uh-huh.
there's still so much we don't know about metamorphosis.
There are still mysteries to be uncovered,
Yeah.
connections to be made,
Absolutely.
and new species with their own unique transformations waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. That's the beauty of science.
It is.
It's a never-ending journey of exploration and discovery.
I love that.
Speaking of discoveries,
Okay.
before we wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to share a recent study
Oh, cool.
that you might find interesting.
I'm all ears.
Researchers have been studying the relationship
Okay.
between metamorphosis
Uh-huh.
and the microbiome.
The microbiome.
And that's the community of microorganisms that live inside an animal's gut.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting. So we're talking about bacteria and other tiny organisms
Right.
that live inside animals, right?
Yeah.
I've heard they play a big role in digestion and immunity.
Exactly.
And what's fascinating is that scientists are discovering
Yeah.
that the microbiome can actually influence an animal's development,
Wow.
including metamorphosis.
So the bacteria in their gut can actually affect how they transform.
That's what it looks like?
That's wild.
Do you have an example?
Well, they've been studying this in amphibians.
Okay.
It turns out that tadpoles
Mm-hmm.
with different gut microbiomes can develop at different rates and even have different physical characteristics after a metamorphosis.
So the types of bacteria living in their gut
Right.
can actually determine how they develop.
That's the current thinking.
That's incredible.
It is.
Does this have implications for other animals that go through metamorphosis, like insects?
That's what researchers are trying to figure out.
Wow.
It's a relatively new area of research,
Yeah.
but it's opening up some fascinating possibilities.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is in nature.
It does.
We often
That-
think of metamorphosis as this purely biological process,
Right.
but it turns out that even the tiniest organisms can play a role.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that we can't just look at an animal in isolation.
Right.
We have to consider the entire ecosystem it lives in,
Yeah.
right down to the microscopic level.
Exactly. It's a web of interconnectedness.
It is.
And metamorphosis is just one thread in that intricate tapestry.
Well, I think we've successfully taken this complex topic
I think so, too.
and made it accessible.
Uh-huh.
And dare I say, even a little bit mind-blowing.
I'd agree we've explored the how and the why of metamorphosis, and even touched upon its potential to inspire future innovations.
From the fascinating hormonal control
Right.
to the incredible diversity of strategies and adaptations,
Uh-huh.
it's been an amazing journey.
It has.
And hopefully you, our listener,
Yeah.
have come away with a newfound appreciation
I hope so.
for the wonders of metamorphosis
Absolutely.
and the power of evolution
Yeah.
to shape life in such incredible
This is
ways.
an amazing process.
It really is.
Yeah.
Maybe you've even started to see the world around you a little differently,
Maybe.
noticing the subtle and not so subtle transformations happening all the time.
That's a great point.
It is.
Yeah.
They're happening all around us,
All the time.
all of the time.
Remember, there's always more to discover.
There is.
Keep that curiosity burning.
Yeah.
And who knows what other secrets of the natural world you'll uncover.
That's a perfect note to end on.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of metamorphosis.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.